Broadcasting from deep in the Eublepharis galaxy, on a small planet called Geckonia, east of the Albino Hills and south of the raging Leucistic River, comes the one, the only Gecko Nation Radio.
Good evening, citizens of Gecko Nation. Today is January 18th, 2015. We got a great show planned for you tonight. Let me go ahead and bring on Mr. Tim Walton, our co-host. What's up, Tim?
What's happening, Dave? You all hopped up on oxygen tonight?
Hopped up on caffeine. I was actually, really busy this weekend, and I kind of took a long nap. You ever like take a nap in the afternoon? You wake up all confused. You don't know what day it is or whatever.
Did you think you missed the show?
Kinda. I mean, I kind of didn't because I set my alarm and everything, but it was weird. I slept pretty late this afternoon, and then I woke up and I'm like, all right, is today still Sunday or whatever? And I'm like, okay, yeah, the alarm didn't go off, so it's gotta be. But it was funny. Something interesting this week. I made a post on Facebook about I put 30,000. I got an order of my superworms in from Rainbow Mealworms, of course, and I made a post about it, and it kind of created a bit of a stir because I'm doing things that people haven't really seen, and I guess it is kind of a new way of keeping your worms and stuff. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about it tonight because I had a lot of people really curious about it and asking questions. I got all kinds of PMs. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll talk about it on the show. I don't want to, tell everybody. It would take forever to answer all the questions. So, but anyway,
I don't know. Favorite thing to do.
Yeah, right. I wish I had the time.
Answer everybody's email questions individually.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Maybe for the first 2 or 3 years I was doing this, it was fun, but I can't keep up, man. It's too many people. But anyway, did you see the video that I posted? It was 30,000 superworms crawling around. Did you see that thing?
With some carrots, munching on some carrots.
Right, that one, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I don't keep my. For those of you guys that know me pretty good, I don't keep my my mealworms on wheat bran, and wheat bran, when it's in a dust form, can be. Wheat is an allergen to a lot of people. That's this whole gluten-free kick that everybody's on lately. That's what that's all about. But I mean, a lot of people aren't affected by wheat bran at all. But I have a problem with the mealworms, and I figured, all right, well, if I'm allergic to mealworms, and wheat is a known allergen, I might as well, do whatever I can to cut down my dust and cut down things that I could be allergic to. And so that was the thinking behind switching from wheat bran to a monkey chow bedding. And unfortunately with the mealworms, it doesn't work out too good because the mealworms, they need something that separates them. They need that dust to keep them from crawling all over each other and getting too hot and kind of turning into a dead black mush, which is disgusting. And that definitely happens if you don't have your mealworms set up right. And for mealworms, I totally recommend wheat bran or oats, something like that, to keep your mealworms in. But anyway, superworms are a different story. Superworms are so active, they're always crawling around. I've found in my experience, they don't necessarily need a bedding per se, as long as you're going through them relatively quickly, and as long as they're not more than, I'd say, an inch deep. And so that's what I do. I keep my I feed superworms that are the size of mealworms, mostly here. I still have some that eat mealworms, but so I switched to superworms, and they're a little more expensive, but I find that I'm less allergic to the superworms, and the geckos like them just as much as mealworms, and in my opinion, I feel that superworms are even better for them than mealworms, okay? So nobody could figure out what those chunks were in there, and the chunks that they're eating is primate chow, it's monkey chow. and it's a really good brand of monkey chow called Missouri, and it's expensive, and I spare no expense for my geckos. I totally want to make sure that they're eating good, and I want to make sure that, you know, they're gut loaded, and also for my own benefit, these monkey chow biscuits don't create a lot of dust. So for me, for someone that's allergic to worms, this is working out really good for me, and it's working out really good for my geckos. So that's what that's all about, folks. I hope that answers some of your questions. And if you have any more questions other than what I've answered, you know, PM me. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. So I don't know. What do you keep your mealworms on, Tim? How do you keep your feeders?
Wheat bran.
Wheat bran? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever tried superworms?
Yes, I have done superworms. But have you tried taking oats and putting them in like a coffee grinder and then turning them into a powder and feeding that? Or is that too much dust as well?
That's dusty too, but I think that's what I found with that is that actually kills mealworms because the dust gets too fine, and I think it clogs up their breathing apparatus. So the wheat bran is a bit of a larger particulate. So that the other thinking with using small superworms that are the same size as mealworms is they're much more active. They don't pupate. Okay, so you're not going to have a bunch of beetles running around if you don't feed them off right away. The only thing that's going to happen is they're just going to get bigger. And the other thing is they don't shed their exoskeleton as much as mealworms. So anybody out there that's keeping mealworms, that's sick of mealworms, try small superworms. All right, and contact Jillian over at Rainbow and tell her, I heard that Dave is doing so good with his small superworms, and she'll make sure you get what you need. But I'm really liking it. I'm liking the superworms, and I'm liking the primate chow. The primate chow actually smells like Fruit Loops. It smells really good. I mean, if I were a monkey, I'd be eating this stuff all day long. So I thought about trying it too, but
when I was a kid, my father raised birds, and some of the birds that he kept, he would feed them the monkey chow, and he would soak it in water first to soften it up a little bit for him.
Yeah, right. I used to feed it to my iguanas and parrots. Yeah,
birds would love to eat it.
Yeah, it's really nutritious stuff. I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, if it's good enough for a monkey, as nutrition, it's got to be pretty good. And, as a moisture source, I use carrots. I don't really like potatoes as much. I think carrots work better, just in my opinion. Plus, they got beta-carotene in them.
Yeah, exactly. I prefer the carrots for that reason as well. I think that it would have to translate into a little bit better colors and healthier geckos.
Right, exactly. And I buy the big bags of the organic carrots, and I don't know. They last. I buy one big bag a week or so. It gets me through for my operation here. But anyway, tonight, folks, we have a really interesting show, and I'm really looking forward to this one. George from Arti, Sanz, Geckos is going to be with us in a little bit, and he's doing something really cool with his gecko operation. He's basically helping veterans, and animals are awesome. For helping sick people. I mean, you hear the stories all the time of these dogs and cats that they bring into hospitals to cheer people up, and it's like therapy. I've even heard of people swimming with dolphins and being cured of depression, stuff like that. Animals just have an amazing way of cheering people up. I mean, I don't know. I have my little dog sitting with me right now, and I'm happy. I don't know if that... What's up, Wanda? She's sleeping. But
I'm digging through a mealworm bin, and that's making me happy right now.
All right, well, there you go. But it's I've never really seen it done with reptiles, and so I think this is like a new in geckos especially. I think this is a new way of I don't know what the word for it is, new way of cheering people up that need it with animals, okay? And it's usually done with furry animals, but I think a little gecko is just as cool. So we're going to talk to Arti tonight, Arti Sanz, George, and we're going to see what it takes to start a non-for-profit organization such as this. I'm sure a lot of you folks out there have great animals that you would like to be able to do more with and expose to other people. And anybody that encounters reptiles that isn't deathly afraid of them, usually likes them, and some of them will even go on to become reptile pet owners. So, that's something cool. I always try to, encourage people to try to get more people involved, and because that can be good for everybody. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and I just want to thank everybody that listens to the show, and, of course, our amazing sponsors. You're going to hear some of them now, and you'll hear the rest at the mid-show break. Hang tight.
Gecko Nation Radio is a David Fine Geckos creation and production. You can visit the show's Facebook page at Gecko Nation Radio. I also have a great family-friendly group on Facebook called Gecko Nation. Apply for membership today. Gecko Nation Radio is sponsored by Reptiles Express is the absolute best live animal shipping company with great low rates. Debbie is the queen of customer service and will make sure your precious cargo gets to where it needs to. They also have a wide array of shipping supplies from deli cups, snake bags, heat packs, and more. Visit reptilesexpress.com and become a member today. Longhorn Geckos is a father and son collaboration. Daryl and Cade Burton specialize in the best Super Tangelos, Pastel Raptors, White and Yellows, and really nice wild types. Follow them on Facebook at Longhorn Geckos and on their new website coming soon. Ohio Gecko is famous for amazing tangerines, snows, and other very unique leopard gecko projects. Thad also has some incredible fat tail morphs available from stingers to starbursts. Visit him online at ohiogecko.com and at Expos in the Northeast. He is also the owner of geckoforums.net. Dale's Bearded Dragons is your one-stop source for any reptile supply products that you may need, from Exoterra, Zoomed, Rapashi, Repcal, Fluker, and much, much more, and all at 20 to 50% cheaper than your local pet store or big chain pet store. They are also the biggest reptile supply distributor at most of the Northeast Expos. Contact them directly online at dalesbeardeddragons.com or message me on Facebook and I'll put you in touch with the owner.
That's right, folks, and I just want to remind everybody that our sponsor, avdragons.com, best source for dubia roaches. They have a standard 5% off discount code for Gecko Nation Radio listeners. That code is Gecko, all in caps. Okay, use it at checkout. Awesome. All right, Ted, what do you say we jump right in and grab George?
Let's bring him on.
All right. George from Arti Sanz Geckos. What's going on, George?
Not much. How you doing, guys? Appreciate you guys
giving
me get on today.
Absolutely. Glad to have you with us. George, why don't you tell us a little bit about your gecko operation and how you got into them?
I started with geckos about 3 years ago. About a year of it just as pet, just keeping one as a pet. I got he was missing about 4 toes, regenerated tail, and I got him through one of the local reptile shops here in Orlando, and it kind of sprung an interest. Then I went to a Repticon shortly after and saw the different paint jobs and morphs, and it even intrigued me more. And then I got a second one, and then a third one, and I think within the next year and a half after that, I pretty much watched all your videos, Dave, and everything Sassabek put on religiously so I could learn. I think that studied for about another year and a half. And then I started expanding a bit and found, other reputable breeders online, and I got addicted, to be honest with you. It was a very good addiction, though. It's not a bad one. It's a great one. So.
That's cool. What kind of geckos you working with now, George? What kind of more?
Wow. I got Super Tangelos, Blood Emerring, all sorts of different Emerring projects I'm working on. The Black Blood Emerring that I mentioned to you last week. starting with the white and yellow, introducing that beautiful male I got from you, that awesome white and yellow. Now I kind of veered away from it for a long time, but was drawn in. So I'm gonna, and he's not ready yet, but that's where I'm gonna start. Use him as my base for future projects I have. What else? I'm sorry, I'm trying to think here. I just got a pair of radars for my birthday yesterday that my wife got for me. So I'm going to be working with some radars, a Maxno radar, and a nice normal female radar. All kinds, normal bells, super snow bells, raptors, reverse stripe raptors. I have a very nice trempers, just your base trempers, but their colors are awesome. So I'm going to be working with trempers, and I'm a little bit all over the place this year, to be honest with you. But I'm a little more in control this year. Years previously, where I was kind of just very random.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I'm all over the place here for the last 5 years. I got a little bit of everything. It's just, it's just part of it. I understand, though. I'm actually trying to scale back and just focus on essentials, I guess, more or less. And I don't know. I'm going to try to reduce my collection by at least a third. But it sounds like you got some awesome projects started there, George. I wish you the best of luck with them. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your military service, if you would?
Okay. Well, I joined the military in '98. I did a delayed entry program pre 9/11. Joined the Army Reserves. Did that for 2 years. Tried to go active duty Army, and before 9/11, they weren't keen on expanding too much, so they gave me a hassle. Went to the Navy recruiter, and he said, "Yeah, I'll take you." And so then I joined the Navy. Did that for X number of years, and ended up getting out in 2013 with a back injury that I tried to kind of keep under wraps for a while, but it caught up to me, and so I got medically discharged because of my back. Excuse me, and that was, pretty much my career. I mean, I got about 4-5 deployments under my belt. I did a few with the Army while I was in the Navy. Went to Kuwait. Went to Baghdad and worked with the Army there at the Troop Medical Clinic. Did a few Navy deployments, did the Persian Gulf, and did boardings there with Coast Guard groups like the Leadet, and they do a lot of inspections and cargo inspections. We were kind of trying to make sure that nobody was smuggling anybody through Iran or Saudi Arabia, any terrorists that were on our listing, So we did a lot of inspecting there. And then my last tour of duty was a fairly easy one. I got out in beautiful Italy. I was there for 3 years, and that was my relaxed, I guess, duty station. I got out there, and I mean, I can't complain. Europe was awesome, and I didn't really get any deployments, so I got to decompress a little bit in my last 3 years.
Wow.
Nice.
Sure. While you were deployed, did you see any leopard geckos over there by any chance?
No, but myself and my when we were in Kuwait after the rainstorm, my one of my first encounters with reptiles was one of my senior chief medical staff, and he loved animals, and he took me out. We went to the dunes, and we're actually catching wild Euramax in Kuwait, and he was the one. I was his driver, so he took me with him, and that was one of my first really reptile experience I had. Every time after rain, he wanted to go out there and catch them because they would come out of their tunnels, and I thought that was a pretty neat experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. No, that's I was going to ask something like that too. I was hoping you would have seen some interesting leopard gecko types there, but I guess you can't have everything.
No, I wasn't blessed. And then again, maybe if I would have been looking for them, if I would have been into leopard gecko, would have been hunting for them, but. At that time, I was my only experience with a reptile was a green, what they call rough snake I had when I was a child, so I really didn't have too much exposure to it.
Well, you live in Florida, so do you ever see anything interesting down there?
Oh yeah, all kinds. I take tours all the time of the swamps, and I see gators all the time. Up north, South Florida. We've stayed at hotels and. We've seen tokays, wild tokays on the side of the hotel wall. I've been through the Everglades a few times, never seen any ball pythons, although a lot of people say they've seen them out there. And then down in Miami, they have a wild tegu population, and run into those every now and then. That's pretty
right.
neat to see.
Yeah, the tegus, they're kind of getting prolific down there, I guess. That's what I hear.
Oh, yeah.
You don't. What about any kind of big snakes, anything like that?
No, not in the wild. No, I've seen. I've here. I've caught myself and actually my 4-year-old one day walked in with a black racer in his hand, and I had to teach him not to go out there grabbing things he didn't know until he called me. But a lot of black racers I see around. The green, that green rough snake from Florida I've seen. A few banded snakes, pygmy rattlesnakes I've seen out here, and I want to say that's pretty much about it. Oh, water moccasins. We have plenty of water. I see those all the time. Cottonmouths.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Wow. Up here in PA, we don't have anything like that. It's just cold.
Your normal brown anoles. I mean, we have little anoles, little brown anoles all over the place, and I think I've seen an iguana or two again in South Miami. Not. I guess it gets maybe a little too cold in Central Florida for them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, you're kind of like me in a sense where I guess you're having like a really, lot of fun with your geckos, and you're looking for ways to, share your enthusiasm and everything. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this idea that you have and what your plan is with it?
Well, I'd say about a year ago, I was really trying to find a niche. I knew I wanted to be a part of this community, one way or another. And what I saw was a lot of people coming into the hobby like myself, and instantly starting business pages, and and I didn't want to. I wanted to find my own niche. I didn't want to just sell geckos. I mean, I have an awesome job. I work at the VA currently, and I've been there for the last 2 years. So I wanted to do something where I could help other people. The way I found that I could do that is by, I guess, using the therapeutic. How would I word this? I'm sorry. The geckos are therapeutic to me. When I got out of the military, I suffered from a lot of overvigilance, non-sleeping, what they consider, common traits of PTSD. And and it was difficult for me to adapt, with my family, with my kids. Mind you, my wife pretty much raised my kids on her own because I was always gone. So for me to start kind of that civilian life was very hard for me. I got my first gecko early in. So a lot of times when it was 3 or 4 in the morning and I could not sleep, I would go into my little area where I had my reptiles and super clean. Clean, feed, and I would do that almost nightly. And it kind of gave me something to do other than pace around. And reading, watching your videos and reading and Googling and, and gave me, I did that for hours. I would sit under the cover, so much so that my wife would be like, is there anything other than geckos? But, almost to the point where she was getting a little upset about how obsessive I was getting. But when she finally saw me, I guess, come down from that and actually have something, I started socializing with my kids. It gave me something because they were interested, so they would come to me. And they would want to, hey, Dad, what about this? And I would explain to them. And so she started seeing how I was becoming more social and actually doing something other than sitting around in the house literally doing nothing for almost 2 years after I got out. She was all for it at that point. So I wanted to do that, and I thought that would be my niche. One, because I can almost give a testimony to other veterans that are going through the same thing. And two, I figured that would be my avenue. One, to be able to do my hobby and become self-sufficient and self-sustained, and at the same time give back to the veteran community, give back to vets. And that's where that vision came about originally to start getting geckos, and and even if they're not a gecko person, maybe another kind of reptile, but some kind of reptile to a vet, and get them to open up and give them something to do, give them a focus.
That's really cool. It really is. And I have an idea for you for another awesome pet to be used for your purpose. I think a nice, friendly blue-tongued skink would be perfect for what you're doing. You like blue tongues?
I do. I think they're awesome, yes.
Oh my God, they're like the right size that they're not too little where they're gonna run and jump out of your hands, and I don't know. I can just see it in your situation, bringing them to people and letting them. I have my blue tongues just sit right on me. They don't even move. They're just so chill and relaxed. Yeah, I mean I think geckos are perfect too. They're a nice, healthy, chubby leopard gecko. So you've already experimented with them too. You've already brought them to people. What was that like?
It was actually awesome. Be it that I have really good access to veterans. I talked to a few, and through some of the social workers that I work with in the VA, I expressed to them my interest in helping and doing what the nonprofit, and they expressed it to several of the vets that they saw regularly, that they talked to, and a few showed interest, and she put them in contact with me. I gave out a total of 8 so far. One of which, actually, a gentleman, he enjoyed it so much, he ended up getting another one, and it was really nice. I had a few extra tanks around my house. With the other guys that I didn't have the tanks, I went with them, and we went to the store, and we picked up everything they needed to, for their proper husbandry, and then I turned over the gecko once I made sure that the gecko would, have a good home, and kind of explained to them what they needed for care. And so far, I've gotten nothing but great responses. I had a vet come last week. I hadn't seen him in about 2 or 3 weeks. And not only he says he enjoys it, he loves it, his thing was he was originally afraid, I know it's a simple thing, of messes and cleaning up, but he says that the leopard gecko just poops in one spot. And to him, that was awesome, that the leopard gecko poops in one spot. I mean, everybody has their niche, and that was his. He's like, it's so easy to take care of. I pull it up, I clean it, and it's done. And it's also bringing, him and his kids together. It gives them something to look at, something to take care of, and focus on. It's a life, and it's cool to, if we don't take care of them, it's not like other adults and other kids. They can kind of fend for themselves, but if you have a little animal that you have to take care of, they can't get up and go to the refrigerator and get something to drink or get something to eat. It kind of forces you to have to focus on something other than just be it wartime or deaths or whatever it is, whatever is in the mind of the veteran. It's so broad, but it kind of almost forces you to get out of that, even if it's just for a moment.
That's important. I know a lot of people that suffer from depression, anxiety, and stuff like that, and that can be pretty debilitating for people. I mean, I know what that feels like myself too. And to have animals to turn to like that, it's a solace in a sense, and it's also, like you say, it's a responsibility that just gets your mind off things. I think this is an awesome idea. Seriously, George, do you find that leopard geckos, not only are they good for everything you just said, but also because they're a low maintenance pet, that they're also pretty forgiving, like for new people to take care of? Like if they make some mistakes, you think that the species of leopard geckos is tolerant of that?
I think, honestly, yes. I think that's a good point. I think so, because even with me, just speaking on my behalf, there was a lot I didn't know until I started reading up. I had my leopard gecko. Again, there's this very, it's a big discussion point, sand, no sand, to each his own, but I prefer not to use it. And when I first got it, I had sand, and I had all kinds of stuff, and I didn't know any better. And I was throwing the food, and even let's say this, even if you want sand, I was throwing the food on the sand and having them eat it off the sand instead of having a dish. I was all screwed up in the beginning, but I still have that gecko to this day, and I think you have a lot of wiggle room. It's important to learn, though. It's definitely important, but I think they are very forgiving.
The sand issue, oh my God! It seems like, all right, and it's okay that new people feel this way. New people that first come into the hobby, they're gung ho about sand because the pet store told them calcium sand is good or sand is good for leopard geckos, and they're like, well, pet store guy wouldn't lie to me, and they feel strong about it, and they say it makes my tank look really nice, and then when somebody that's more experienced comes along and says, why take a chance with sand? Why don't you use paper towels? They can't fathom why anybody would want to substitute natural-looking sand for paper towels. It's hard for them to compute it, you know. We see this argument all the time, and it gets heated. In fact, whenever it happens in the group, there's always somebody that totally loses their cool and starts going off, cursing at everybody, and winds up getting themselves booted from the group. At least one person every time the sand issue comes up. What's up with that, man?
I don't know. I mean, I used it. I didn't have any issues, thank God. And again, I really don't get involved with the people that do, and if they choose to go that route. But I prefer. I always believe it's better to be safe than sorry. And you know, I know they're not in paper towels in the wild. I've been to the desert, you know, where they're from, and it wasn't a full sand pit. It's rocky, it's mountainous. They even have luscious green patches in the middle of the desert. So, you know, based on my experience being there, I'm not putting 10 pounds of sand in my fish tank. Or in my tank. That's just me. I prefer to be. I care for my animals. I spend money of my own on my animals. So anything that I can put them at risk, I would prefer not to do it, and that's why I do it. You know, I don't argue with those that do. Again, to each his own. But I don't promote it, and I wouldn't. I mean, from being a novice and having sand to now, I think the gecko is just as comfortable, and you can avoid any issues. And you may not have any issues, but then again, you may. So it's kind of just a flip of a coin.
Right. What would you say the climate's like over there? Can you describe the weather and such that you experienced when you were there? It's so broad. I mean, in the winter, we had the winters where we would go down to 30 degrees, 25 degrees at night, and in the daytime it's 90 degrees. It can, depending again, your different areas and different terrains that you might be in. You've got some parts that are more mountainous, and those parts are a little more moisture bound. You know, it's not as dry. Where I was, more flat land and more sand. It was more dry and a very dry. I mean, I remember getting off our convoy, and the minute I got out of the vehicle, I felt like my stomach curled. Like it curdled and instantly started getting knots because I wasn't hydrated. It was like almost, I want to say 102 degrees when we first got there. So it varies, to be honest with you. It depends on, you know, where you're at. But it's hot. Does it ever like go up over 110 and such?
Oh yeah, we had days where I think it was like, if I remember correctly, a heat index was like 115, and it felt hotter than that. And then plus we're in, you know, full gear, so on top of the temperature, you know, we have Kevlar helmets, flap jackets, rucksacks, boots. So I mean, we have everything on top of the heat. So it's a lot of hydration. Get a Camelback. Keep drinking water all the time, and as long as we stay hydrated, you promote hydration. I think, you know, a lot of people are all right once they get a little acclimated to the heat.
Interesting. When I was a kid, my uncle would tell me stories. He was an Air Force pilot during the Korean War, and we used to take rides down to the Jersey Shore, and every time we took a trip, I would say, Uncle George, tell me a story from when you were in the Air Force. And he had all these different stories that he had during training and different operations that he went on. And we spoke earlier, George, about this, and you said you were comfortable if I asked you questions about some of your experiences. And I know some guys that are veterans and stuff, they don't, you know, always like to talk about their experiences, but is there any interesting stories or situations that you could tell us about, any experiences that you had over there?
Yeah, honestly, I don't mind. We've had me where I was, I got a little both worlds. I was in the Navy again, and I did a lot of Navy operations, and those were kind of straight, you know, straight into the point. We were in the Arabian Gulf at one point. This is going to be more of a funny story, and then I'll give you a little serious story, maybe because so you can see the degree of difference. We were doing boardings and checking, for the most part, for documentation and making sure that these dowels that are traveling up and down the straits are not carrying. A lot of them would try to spot, to fund terrorism. They would actually, smuggle crude oil and sell that, and then that money was used to fund terrorism. Date, which may not seem like much for us, but that's big time money in the Middle East, and that was also used in some avenues to fund terrorism. And at one point, we actually were doing a boarding, and in a fake back room that was all covered up with boxes, we actually found 3 women that were of Eastern European descent somewhere, and they were actually getting human trafficked, and they were going into other Middle Eastern countries where they're used for prostitution. A lot of the Middle Eastern men won't degrade their women, but they bring other women from other countries, and that don't have the same religious beliefs, and I don't want to just say degrade, but definitely use them as they please, whereas they would not be disrespectful in that manner to their women because of their religion. So that was a kind of interesting thing we encountered. When I was in Iraq, a lot of the things I did was I did medical supply and logistics. So I wasn't in the front line per se all the time. We did convoys, and those were scary. We saw plenty of improvised explosive devices, detonated. And I think that the craziest thing I saw was where I worked. A lot of the things that we did in Camp Liberty was we did triaging. So we were more of a small, emergency room, and what we did was any people that were hurt or any military personnel that were injured, they would come to us, and we would stabilize them, and from there they would get evacuated via helo to an Army support hospital. A lot of times they would go into Germany or elsewhere, closest location we can get them. And so I saw a lot of injuries, a lot of young guys that were barely there a couple weeks, and I think that's what hit me the most every time I talk to my wife. It's like they would come in and get medical supplies from me, a lot of medics, and they would come in 1 week, and then the next week they just barely came in, and the next week they were already getting medevaced out, and they were, without limbs, facial traumas. Some passed away, and it was just too much, I think, for me mentally to see these young guys come in. You to talk to a lot of them, and a lot of them have, I can't wait to get done with this, do these 12 months, go home. And I think that was the biggest impact for me because a lot of them never made it home. And a lot of times I felt like because I was behind the wire, I almost felt guilty, because I knew that unless can I say shit hits the fan? I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed. Yeah. I knew unless that really happened where I was, which we were behind the wire, layers and layers of security. It was very difficult for that to happen, and where I worked Monday through Friday. And a lot of these guys had to go out every day on missions, and I didn't have to do that. So a lot of times I felt honestly, I carry a guilt with me for years because almost like it wasn't me. Although I was, now I'm glad that I can kind of, clearly think about things, but it's a difficult thing to see day in and day out. I don't know if I'm making sense. Well, I stutter a little when I start talking about these things, so bear with me.
George, no, George, you're doing fine. I'm trying to picture, what it's like, and try to empathize a little bit and try to put myself in your shoes, and to see those things every day. I can imagine how it must make you feel even after a while. I don't know if it's something that you ever get used to or desensitized to. I don't think you can. I think very highly of everyone that serves our country. I really do, and I think it's a great honor to be able to do that. And when I see these young men and women, they come back and they are hurt and missing limbs and all these different things, it just makes me. It just, I don't know. You can feel. I feel it in my chest. I feel like so sad and so upset. And I'm proud of my grandfather. though. I'm proud that my grandfather was one of the first people on the Anzio Beach invasion in World War II, and he survived. And he was the type of person that would never talk about his experiences there. He took a piece of shrapnel in his foot, and that was enough to get him medically discharged after the invasion that he underwent and survived. And, you know, I would try to talk to him over the years. My grandfather was a very stern man. He was really the quiet type and wouldn't really talk about, he didn't show his feelings. You know, he didn't open up, and I think that was, you know, something that could have benefited from. But he was an interesting guy, you know, and he took he helped his men, and he saw a lot of terrible things happen on that beach that day. And my father told me that even he tried to get him to talk about it a little bit and never could talk about it. So I don't know, George. I think it's something, you know, I think your job was just as important. You know, you were there for a reason. You had a very important job. You were there for those men and women that were actually going out in the field doing other things. And, you know, I think, I don't know. I think your job was just as important, just from my perspective. But what do I know? You know?
No, thank you. Yeah. And my wife tells me the same thing. Everybody has their role to play, and you know, when you the only tough part is feeling. And you know, now I kind of feel differently now. But at the time, I felt like, you know, I'm behind here. I'm not doing enough. I can be out there helping, you know, and I dealt with that for a while. I mean, many years. But now I you know, after I talked to other veterans and I went to support groups in the VA and talked to other guys, and you know, everybody has their part, from the cook all the way to the infantry guy. We're all supporting each other in one way or another. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this new endeavor that you're working on, I think, is something that's just going to be very important in the future. And even if it helps just a few people, I mean, but I think with your vision that you're expressing, I think it's going to be something big. And has anybody else that you know expressed an interest in doing it also?
I've had when online, actually, I got a lot of support from people wanting to donate geckos. And when 2015 season's right around the corner, I commit to this many geckos, and so on. And originally, I remember you had granted me permission to do a few auctions to start the process going. But I actually had I think I was biting off at the time more than what I can chew, and I stepped back a little bit and focused on more of the legalities behind it to make sure I was doing everything correctly. Because normally I dive head first into everything and want to get it done ASAP, but there was a lot of gray areas, and if I wanted to do it right, I had to step back for a minute and take care of the all the red tape. And to start a nonprofit, there's tons of it. So. I'm 95% there, and then if all the people that I know committed and wanted to help, and hopefully they're listening now, I still got all of your information down, and I will definitely contact you once all the red tape is clear, and I can actually completely move forward with this, which then I'll contact those people but I showed a lot, mostly and I've only posted it once on my page, and I got a lot of support from all the Gecko Nation, my Gecko Nation family. I think a good 80% of the people that replied were all from your page. So I think that they're very excited, and everybody is just willing to do something.
Well, that's great. It seems like there's a good sense of camaraderie in the group these days, and I don't know. I haven't even really been in posting too much, but I see that everybody seems to be getting along good, and unless the sand issue comes up, everybody's getting along fine. But Arti, George, whenever I keep calling you Arti from Arti Sanz Geckos, but George, whenever you're ready to do something, and if you feel that either of the groups can help you get the word out or whatever you're trying to do, just let me know. We'll make it happen, man. And I'm happy to support and do whatever I can to help you with what you're doing. And I don't know. Why don't we talk a little bit about what it takes to get one of these things started? And I'm sure it'll vary from state to state, but there's going to be people that'll listen to this and they're going to get the idea in their head that they want to do it too. And I think that'll be great. What do you think? Where's the first place to start?
The internet. I actually started Googling how to start a nonprofit, and it gave me kind of a step-by-step instruction. I took an easy route. I actually, not advertising at all, but I went to LegalZoom.com. I know you guys maybe see the commercials a lot. They have full packages that can actually help you, and lawyers at very, very good prices that could actually help you complete the paperwork, because there's a lot that needs to go into applying for a nonprofit, both federally and statewide. So like you said earlier, it varies from state to state. There's about 39 states, which I don't know all of them up top, that are part of they have all agreed upon, a method to do things, and if you're in any of those 39 states, you're good to go. But I ended up being in Florida, and they're one of the states that didn't get into that group of 39 states, so they do things a little bit different here. But that was my first thing, just to make sure I knew what I was doing, both myself the best, to my knowledge that I can, because I'm not a legal nor super business expert myself. So legal advice is definitely a plus. Plus, if I was, another thing, if you're not good at numbers, trying to get a nice accountant, somebody that can help you once the money starts coming into your nonprofit, because they both federal and state require very, very meticulous accountability for every penny and every dollar that the cent that comes into your nonprofit. So I would honestly start with those two things. You also, for me, when I first started, I was going for pets or vets. That was the most generic thing I could come up with, and that's what it started up. But then when I started, looking up and checking up for name availability, that's a nonprofit that started ages ago, and they do the furry type. So then I veered over and then changed it to Gecks for vet, short for Geckos for vet, and that wasn't taken. So then again, I had to submit paperwork in order for me to, acquire that name for myself. And then what else? I'm trying to think here. Bear with me. You have to figure out what legal type of structure you're going to do. A lot of people can do LLCs and other things like that. I chose a corporation, so mine's going to be a nonprofit corporation. It just makes it a little easier. Again, state rules vary. For myself, since I had to also do what they call nonprofit article of incorporation or whatnot, which is it's pretty much running all your paperwork in the state of Florida and making sure that you can incorporate your name. And once they give you permission to do that, the state does, then you can move forward with doing all your federal stuff through the IRS, getting your tax ID number. Also, you need a Florida identification number for taxes. And even though you're not paying for any, you eventually, if you fall under a certain bracket, won't have to pay any taxes due to the nonprofit. But you still need to acquire all of your paperwork as if you were just incorporating a regular business. Once you do all that, and then you have to apply, which is the more difficult part. It's a form, a federal income tax exemption form, and that's where then you'll be exempted from paying taxes, because then you'll be considered a nonprofit. So it's a lot of red tape.
And it sounds like you did all your homework and are going about it the right way.
Yeah, I had to. Like I said originally, I just wanted to dive all in and then just start giving away free geckos. But in order for me to, then I looked at it through a business standpoint. For order to me to be self-sufficient, not necessarily what I live off of, my family lives off, that's what I work for. But in order for my business to be self-sustainable, food, expanding, getting more geckos, building racks, and buying fish tanks because eventually I want to have a large array of tanks, full setups for when I do start giving out the geckos, it's not just the gecko. I want to be able to provide them with everything that, the gecko needs husbandry-wise to get them started. Food, I want the whole nine. And I would have to account for every single dollar. And that's why I wanted to do it correctly. So that way, I won't be dipping into my pocket, which I am now, because, it's $800 for one thing. I paid $200 for another, $35 for something else to get this stuff doing. But eventually it'll pay back, and it'll not necessarily me, but it'll pay the veterans back. And then if at the same time I can still be doing my hobby and it'll be self-sufficient and it'll be paying for itself and I can provide a service to veterans, you can't beat it. I don't think there's anything better than that.
So tell us a little bit about where in the process you are right now.
Okay. As of right now, I had finished and I got my email back for the 501c, which is the most difficult part, which is the tax exemption form, and I got accepted to that. Now what I'm running is the Florida tax exemption paperwork, and that's through the Florida Department of Revenue. So now I've federally been okayed to not pay taxes. Unless I make over $25,000, if any of it that I make is separate from my nonprofit, then I have to pay some taxes back. It's a bunch of gray area. But for the most part, I think federally I'll be good. Statewide is where I need now to file for Florida tax exemption, so I wouldn't have to pay any sales tax. So that I wouldn't have to charge any sales tax either, and everything will go straight through. So anything that I sell, in order to make a profit for the nonprofit, I wouldn't have to pay any state taxes for. And then I just recently filed. I also had to register. In order for me to receive, any kind of fundraiser, I also had to do paperwork for that, and I had to register for that. It's called I can't pronounce the word. Bear with me. I'm getting dry mouth. Charitable solicitation fundraiser registration. So anytime that I want to hold a fundraiser or anything like that, in order to make money for my nonprofit, I have to fill out that paperwork and get permission to do so. And that's also every fundraiser that I also do. I have to have meticulous paperwork, and every dollar that we get has to be annotated so that it's very tedious. But if you get all the right people behind you and you do things correctly, once you get past all this paperwork, I think it would, I shouldn't have any issues. And once I'm done with those two things, the only other thing I need is my Class 3 permit, which I've already had. Then you would need whatever kind of permit. If you're opening a restaurant, per se, you would need health and safety inspections, all that stuff. For me, all I need is a Class 3, which I've already have in the state of Florida, which permits me to sell, and keep reptiles. So, and that's
and I'm sure. And I'm sure once you get the ball rolling, everything else becomes a lot easier down the road, right?
Correct, exactly. This has been the most difficult part, is just getting all the legality behind me. And then once I'm done with that, then it'll be just pretty much, like you said, just all the hard part is behind me. All I have to do is just make sure, that I'm annotating everything. I got to keep minutes, board of directors, because I also forgot to mention that I need at least in the state of Florida at least a minimum of 3 board of directors. And that way, what they do it for is just for security purposes. They want to make sure that I'm not using a nonprofit and making all this money, making all the decisions on my own, not paying taxes, and then go run off and do something stupid or illegal. So you need, a minimum of 3 board of directors along with you to help you make decisions and have to okay certain decisions that you have done. And I was able to do that fairly easy. I have a few young guys that are, early on in this. Two of them are veterans and that showed interest in being a part of this, not reptile related, but they work for other nonprofits, and they're also helping me out. And one of the social workers as well that works in the VA, she's also wanting to take part in it. So I'm the only one directly that's dealing with the reptiles, but they're out there helping me. One works for the DAV, Disabled American Veterans, and so they have, they kind of extend my reach to veterans. So it's been kind of, I don't want to say easy for me, but because I work in the VA, it definitely facilitated and opened a lot of doors for me to, get this done.
And so tell us, going forward now, what kind of things are you looking for? Are you ready to start taking donations, or are you in need of volunteers in terms of time, or what exactly are you looking for at this point?
At this point, like I said, I'm just waiting for that Florida tax exemption paperwork, and also for me to get the paperwork for the charitable solicitation and donations. I haven't received that yet. I give myself another between 3 and 6 weeks. Has been about average turnaround for a lot of things, so it hasn't been very crazy as far as wait time goes. So once that comes into play, then I'll be able to legally receive any charitable donations and stuff like that. I just want to make sure, like I said before, that I do everything by the book, because especially I plan to work directly with the Department of Veterans Affairs. I have to have everything done correctly in order to do that. And I have since I work there, it's opened a lot of doors for me to be able to do that directly in partnership. Not in any way are they giving me money or funds, but they're opening their doors for me to be able to launch this. Great.
So we'll have to have you back on when that all goes through, and we'll get some more stuff set up for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. It's been a lot of up and down, a lot of tons of paperwork, but plenty of times I just wanted to just say, you know what, forget it. I'm not doing it. But every time I say that to myself, I go to work the next day and see vets, and I'm like, there's a reason why I'm doing this. I was talking with Dave, I guess a week ago back, and I was expressing to him how I felt that us reptile people, anybody involved in herpetology in any way, are very similar to veterans. I think we're just all cut from a different cloth. Veterans are very they're very thrill-seeking. They're very, into new things and not afraid to try things and approach things. And I think, in order to care and keep a reptile, that's what's required. A little, and not being afraid. A little bit of having to be able to chase that thrill. Let me hold this animal. Let me hold this snake. Let me hold this reptile, because a lot of people are scared. I mean, for no reason other than just not being educated. But I think that every time I wanted to quit in the past, I kind of slap myself in the face, metaphorically, and keep moving, because I feel like, it's definitely an opportunity to help other people, and then based on what I went through and how it helped me, I think it's just a perfect mesh. It blends well.
And at this point with your breeding, are you kind of, you mentioned purchasing racks and stuff like that. Are you specifically ramping up and producing or getting ready to produce geckos for veterans?
I am. I have the way I'm doing is I have a large. Hold on, let me regroup my thought here. I'm building racks now. I just actually, prior to coming to you here and speaking with you, I've actually just left Home Depot and posted a few pictures of stuff that I'm, racks I'm building on Gecko Nation, just to share. I'm expanding. The way I'm doing is I have a certain set of morphs that I'm working on, getting vets directly. A lot of my more expensive morphs that I'm working with, I'm using those funds to kind of reinvest back. So that, I don't know if that makes sense how I'm trying to explain it. So I have Max Snows, I have a few wild types, a few Blazing Blizzards, a couple Trempers, and stuff like that I have set projects in stone that will be set aside, and those projects directly will be for my Gecks for Vet project. Whereas all the and those would be, geckos that go to veterans' homes. And then I will hold auctions and sales for the other more expensive morphs. And what I would do with those is reinvest back into the business. Whatever monies comes from that, I will invest back into the nonprofit, buying incubators, food, husbandry stuff, maybe more geckos and stuff like that. And that's what the end goal will be for me. Like I said, to become, self-sustained with just the geckos. But right now I'm building more racks in order to do that. And, I mean, as anybody can testify, you go from one gecko to 100 at a blink of an eye. And so right now I'm preparing for that.
Hey, George, I hope you're going to use real Flexwa heat tape for those racks.
Of course. Actually, I'm actually going to place my order tomorrow. I have a funny story with that. I know you promote FlexSwap, and my first I bought at a reptile show was that generic kind, and I put my rack up, and I swear to you, in about a week and a half, it was bubbling. All my stuff was warped and bubbling, and then I went and ordered real FlexSwap for my second time, and I haven't had any issues. And not saying that because you're a sponsor and they sponsor the show, but that is the honest to God truth. It bubbled on me and warped. And once I got the real stuff, it hasn't done that.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I'm glad. If I can help you, get any, let me know. And if you think in the future you're gonna need a lot for your operation, I can definitely, get you a good deal on it for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely let you know, because right now, I'm building. Let me see. It should hold 7 per floor, about 10 feet high. I'm building about a 70 gecko rack right now. My wife was kind enough to. I have a 3.5 car garage. She gave me about half of the garage. We just finished building the walls, and we're insulating it so that I have my own parts. And my brother-in-law is downstairs running the drill right now. I can hear him. He's putting up he's helping me build my rack. And it's been steady. It's been pretty steady. Every week I'm doing something down there to get my what she calls my man cave prepared. And again, she didn't like the geckos at all. She did it in the beginning, and now she walks around with them on her shoulder, on her chest. She has geckos that are hers, and I can't sell or give away. And it's pretty neat to watch how someone that didn't like them at all can grow to love them, because I mentioned it before, they have characters, every single one. They different personalities, and some like being held, some could stay on your shoulder all day, others can't stand it, and it's kind of crazy, but it's very fulfilling.
Hey, George, you want to come back after the break and talk a little bit about talk about geckos a little bit after the break?
Yeah, if you have me, I'll definitely stay.
Okay, cool. Let's take a quick break, folks. We'll be right back. This is our second sponsor plug. Check them out. These are great people, great breeders, great businesses. We'll be right back with more from Arti Sanz Geckos. Hang tight.
Gecko Nation Radio is a David Fine Geckos creation and production. You can visit the show's Facebook page at Gecko Nation Radio. I also have a great family-friendly group on Facebook called Gecko Nation. Apply for membership today. Gecko Nation Radio is sponsored by Gecko Boa Reptiles, is your source for the highest quality leopard gecko morphs and wild types, from white and yellows to radars, amazing tremper morphs, and rare subspecies. John is a world-class breeder and extremely knowledgeable. If you're looking for something truly special in geckos, contact John Scarborough at geckoboa.com and on Facebook.
Rainbow Mealworms is the largest worm grower in the world and selling to the public since 1956. If you need the highest quality mealworms, superworms, and crickets for your pets, contact them at www.rainbowmealworms.net.
Ron Tremper is the biggest contributor to leopard gecko morph making, known worldwide for his amazing examples of living art. You can now download his Leopard Gecko Care app, his Morph Encyclopedia app called Leopard Gecko Pro, and visit his site, leopardgecko.com, to see where morphs are made. Supreme Gecko is a great source for crested geckos, day geckos, and other species, including micro geckos. Wally Kern is a top-notch breeder and gecko enthusiast. Visit supremegecko.com for his available animals and supplies. abdragons.com is your source for the highest quality dubia roaches. Whether you're starting a colony of your own or just need feeders for your insect-eating herps, abdragons.com can't be beat in quality or price. They are also a huge distributor of FlexWatt reptile heat tape and have very competitive pricing. Check out abdragons.com online and on Facebook.
All right, folks, we are back. And keep in mind, AB Dragons offers a standard 5% off coupon code for Gecko Nation Radio listeners. That code is Gecko, all in caps. Use it at checkout. Actually, mention Gecko Nation Radio with all of our sponsors, and they're going to take care of you. And if you're going to the New Hampshire show coming up, make sure you see Dale's Bearded Dragons for any of your reptile supply needs, and mention the show. You're going to get 10% off, just like that. All right, we are back with Tim, my co-host, and George from Arti, Sanz, Geckos. We have a caller on the line. George, you ready to...
Dave,
what's that?
Wait 1 second. I think, did we forget to tell people to go to geckoforums.net in the beginning of the show?
Yes, we did. Make sure you... Let's hear it, Tim. What is so great about Gecko Forums?
It's everything's archived. All the information is there for you. You can do all your research there on any questions you have about your geckos. It's a place to go.
Okay, cool. And also, folks, if you like what we do here on Gecko Nation Radio, check out our affiliate Herpentine Radio. Justin and JD have been going strong for 3 years now, and they have a great archive of shows, and they're always talking about something different each week. So definitely check them out. All right, let's go ahead and take a call. You ready for a call, George?
I am. Yeah, definitely.
All right, cool. All right, call to the 201 area code. You are live on Gecko Nation Radio.
Hey, gentlemen, what's going on, man? It's Chad from Inked Out Geckos.
Hey, Chad, how are you? Thanks for calling.
Doing good. Yeah, I just wanted to say, love what you guys are doing, of course. George, from one vet to another, thank you for all the hard work you're putting in because it's greatly appreciated.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead, Chad.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I say, currently still serving, people, it's very imperative that people get the point of how, hard home this hits with some people because it's very important to get these geckos out there and, get people, when you're working with your geckos, you kind of go into a zen mode, kind of relaxes you. So it's definitely something where people can enjoy it and feel good about themselves and take care of something else.
Yeah,
completely agree.
Chad, do you think? Do you see this as something that you might be able to do in the future, or do you think? Do you use your geckos to, I don't know, cheer other people up and expose them to other people?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
definitely. Yeah. I mean, any way I can help, I'm available. I will make myself available because this is definitely something worth it. I've been listening to you guys forever, but the first episode I'm calling in on because I'm very passionate about stuff like this.
That's cool. Thank you so much for calling in. And we met at the White Plains show, right, Chad?
Yeah. Got a couple geckos from you. They're doing great. The feeding response is ridiculous. They just want to eat all the time. It's wonderful.
They are perfect reptile pets. That's why I love them so much. And I think for someone that's like, and for folks that are new to geckos, like some of these veterans, new to maybe some are even new to pets, I think they're like, I don't know about you guys, but don't you think they're like the perfect reptile pet for them to get started with? I mean, who knows? They're probably gonna do really good with leopard geckos and go on to be, go on to other things too, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chad. Go ahead, Chad. You go first, and then Arti.
Well, what I was saying is, I've seen people get dogs, and sometimes you don't have enough room for them. Everybody's got room for a gecko, so it's definitely a great way to start out.
Yeah, that's cool.
I concur. Especially, you know how it is in the military. Even if you're still active, it's a good pet because if you have to PTS or move anywhere, a lot of times, depending where you're going, either a barracks room, if you're going into base housing, or if you're moving somewhere even out of country, doesn't allow you to bring your pets. It's something I think, or a big dog or something. It's something easy that you can kind of bring anywhere with you, and it's easy to set up and easy to maintain.
Absolutely.
Yep. Hey, you guys, Chad or George, I don't even know if this is an appropriate question, but if you guys have any friends that are still serving, maybe they could look for some geckos in their natural habitat, maybe get some, even if it's cell phone footage over there of what they're doing. Could be helpful to keepers over here to learn a little bit about how these animals survive in nature, because we have literally nothing, really limited footage and, anecdotal information available to us about them in their natural habitat. I don't know if that's something that you guys can do or not, but just figured I'd put it out there.
Well, funny story, when I was deployed, 2012 to 2013, I was in Afghanistan, in Kabul. So I was up in the mountains, and at that time, I had taken about a 6-7 year break from reptiles. So, no shit, there I was. We were running a patrol, and I saw a leopard gecko. And it was in the middle of Kabul, which is a big city in Afghanistan. And, yeah, it was living, it was a whole bunch of rubble and everything, and there was a leopard gecko, and I was like, wow, there's a leopard gecko. So, yeah, it's definitely brought me back into the hobby. As soon as I came home, I'm originally from New Jersey, but I moved out here to PA when I got back. So I've been here for about a year now. And instantly I told my fiance, I was like, we're getting back in. I'm getting back in. I got to get some leopard geckos. So
that's awesome. Where in Jersey did you grow up, Chad? I'm from Jersey, too.
Bergen County.
Bergen? Okay. I grew up in Union. You know where that is?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I work in Newark every day, so I'm in Jersey all the time.
Okay. Yeah, we still have a house in Bayonne. I was living in Bayonne for a while, but I was getting kind of sick of that urban environment, so now I'm out here in Pennsylvania in the country. It's beautiful. I love it out here.
Absolutely. That's why I came out here.
Nice. Well, thanks for calling in, Chad. I really appreciate it.
Hey, guys, keep up the good work, man. It's awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Take care.
All right. Well, that's cool. So now, I met Chad at the White Plains show. Seems like a cool guy. Who knows, George? You may start something that may just take off all over the place. What do you think?
That sounds amazing. I was just I don't know, just at all of what he said about it hitting home to him, and it's even if it's just one person today, I felt like I've accomplished a lot. I think I'm just ecstatic. You kind of opened a different avenue, and I really appreciate it for me to get this across to people. And I mean, I think whatever anybody sets their mind to is limitless. If you're driven and you do your best and you do it wholeheartedly and for a good reason, you can accomplish anything. So sky's the limit for this. And right now we're working with vets, but other people suffer from PTSD and stress and different mental health disorders, and maybe we could expand to them as well, because if we can get even the general population learning more and interacting with geckos and other reptiles, I think it'll be good. I think it's a good look for our hobby.
I've always said it that I think that leopard geckos are huge. They are in the reptile world, and they're definitely probably one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing reptile pet in the world. I always have this thing in the back of my mind, and I'm sure Tim and George, you guys can agree too, that how you feel about these things. Don't you feel like it's just teetering right on the edge of becoming super huge and like being in almost every home in America? Can't you see that happening? Like everybody having a pet gecko?
Definitely. I don't see why it hasn't happened yet. I think so. I think it's only a matter of time, and seeing how quickly groups like Gecko Nation, you know, how fast every other day you look at how many people are part of the group and part of the page, and how quickly that's expanding, and that's only a small percentage of population. If even outside of Gecko Nation it's growing that quickly, I don't see why it wouldn't. I don't see why it wouldn't explode.
Right. I mean, we're just capturing Facebook, people on Facebook that are interested in geckos. So that's, you know, that's kind of what's getting driven towards the group. But there's a lot of people that don't even go on Facebook. And
exactly.
Yeah. And I know Tim's going to say the best place to go is Gecko forums, and he's right. And I think we all should spend more time on Gecko forums. But I think we're all just kind of hooked on Facebook these days. What do you think, George? What do you think the future is for the reptile community as a whole? What do you think? Where do you think we're headed?
Again, I'm just wanted to say I would still consider myself a novice. I'm split down the middle, to be honest with you, because I see in certain areas that I go to, and you know, I kind of always. And I'm always on the look for new things, and so I look a lot. I don't say much, but I look a lot and I'm a member of other pages. Now, if I was to base it again just on the small population, because where I'm at, I'm very limited to other reptile people. I don't know physically too many, maybe a handful here in Orlando. So a lot of my connections and people that I pick brains and talk to are, you know, from other states, and a lot online. I'm kind of torn. I see a lot of groups, you know, that are very cutthroat, very rude, and kind of scaring certain people away from them. And, you know, I see a lot, and I think you do a very good job at policing your part of the world, you know, with Gecko Nation, and making sure people are courteous and helpful and not complete douches. So, you know, I'm kind of torn. If everybody has that beautiful first experience, I think, you know, it can definitely be something that can be limitless. I mean, for not necessarily monetarily, but just the fact that you can have all these people from different avenues and different kind of walks of life enjoying, you know, the same thing. But I just hope that they all find a right home, you know, before they get pushed away. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you are. Absolutely. Today I was thinking a lot about the business side of keeping and breeding reptiles. And I do have a lot of geckos here, but I don't have any aspirations of turning this into any kind of crazy big business, you know. But you know, of course I want to be able to sell off my offspring so I can keep going and, you know, keep working on my projects. It's, you know, you have to be able to do that. And I see a lot of breeders today are like having trouble selling their animals, and I even you know, people that have been doing this a long time, like myself and others, you know, sales aren't what they used to be. I think it's just because, I don't know, what do you think? Do you think it's just too many people with geckos? I mean, I don't, or you think it's the economy? What do you think? I was thinking about it all day today.
I wouldn't say, honestly, I wouldn't say the economy. I think from what I see is that a lot of people are not appreciative of the work and the time it takes to, you know, to work on certain projects or create a certain look, and they'll go out and maybe see a gecko that you put 3 or 4 years time into to get a certain way that you want specifically, like let's say your Van Gogh line, and I'll put on just a regular Bell albino, and you know, I'll charge you know, let's say $50, and you put the quality, which to a novice or somebody walking in, they really don't know the difference, and I think a lot of the quantity of so many people just kind of wanting to sell their geckos, no matter what the price is, just so they don't have to, you know, take the overhead of having to care for them or whatnot. In my opinion, it's kind of taken away from other people that are putting in years and years and years on their lines. And I'm trying to word this correctly. I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody in any way, but I think it's kind of, you know, it's kind of taken away from that, if that makes sense. because I might have geckos that I purchased and I paid $300-400 for, and I breed them and then I'll put them up for, let's say just a round number. I put 175, just an example. And I know what work I put into them. I know the quality of whom I got them from, and then somebody else that might also have the same line that just wants to sell them, then post them for $50, $45, $50, $60, and it drives the market down.
Yeah, I know. It's strange, and I think it's weird because, different, like I try to encourage everybody, like especially breeders, new breeders that want to get into this, even make a little business. In fact, if you're going to start breeding, you're going to have to, try to sell your offspring. That's just part of it. And I feel bad when I see good people that have spent good money on good animals have trouble moving them. And I think part of the problem is relying solely on social media for your sales, because I think you're just not going to get the eyes on your for sale stuff that you used to these days. The algorithms are designed to, they make you have to pay for your stuff to be seen. So, even if I post geckos for sale in the Gecko Nation marketplace, that's not going to show up on everybody's timeline. I mean, unless you make a conscious decision to go to the group and look at what's for sale, it's not going to just pop up. And so, and that's the thing, like with auctions, I had somebody in the group posted today about, what do you think, should I do some auctions? And I don't know. I did a few auctions, and I don't know. I have almost 10,000 likes on my page, but it's not enough. It's not enough to get the eyeballs that you need to hold a successful auction. In fact, guys with 20,000 likes are having trouble doing successful auctions on Facebook because, people just don't see the posts. So it's, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about auctions. I'm very undecided about it. Some days I just think they're the devil, and other days I think they might be good. But today I'm feeling like, no, it's not good, because it kind of gives a false impression about what things are actually worth. Because if a gecko that's worth if a gecko's worth $400 and it goes for $50 on an auction, then everybody thinks that particular morph is only worth $50 from here on in, which is nonsense. But I don't know. What do you think, George?
No, I completely agree. I tried a few auctions myself early on, and I mean, I covered shipping and then a little bit more, but I didn't, again, I don't rely on what I make from geckos, but I would like to be self-sufficient, where I can take care of my geckos and any purchase that I needed to do. So I really didn't see much of a profit margin at all with that. And again, the quality of a lot of stuff at that time that I was doing was nowhere as near as what they're going to be this year, and hopefully from this year on. But nonetheless, the geckos that I did put were maybe worth 2 or 3 times more than what was paid for them. But at the time, I just wanted to get some traffic through my page and have people, build somewhat of a rapport with customers, so that people know that I am responsible, I am shipping, and then because at the time I didn't have any sales, so I went down that avenue so that I can build again some kind of rapport with customers, and for them to put comments and pictures of the geckos that I've sold them, and so that other people could then have that leap of faith. Okay, so and so bought from him, maybe I'll give him a try. So, but it wouldn't be something I'd definitely do all the time, not at all.
Well, I received some nice geckos from you. I can vouch for your geckos, absolutely.
Thank you.
I received some beautiful bandits, and which are really nice. They're going to be breeders here. They're Ron Tremper line bandits, really nice stuff. And I still have that really weird hypo paradox gecko. I didn't breed them this year, but maybe 2015 I'll breed them.
Nice. Yeah.
Those bandits are beautiful. I mean, dude, I posted a picture on my Facebook page. I think it got like 300 likes or something like that.
I know that's one thing that I definitely have to get a grasp on, is taking pictures, because I put those pictures of those geckos on there to try to get somebody to maybe if they were interested in doing a trade at the time, and I got none, no response, no nothing. You took that picture, it was night and day. That's one thing I need to learn. It's very important for me to get my skill set up and taking pictures. But they looked amazing. That picture you took was wow. It kind of kept me at all.
I'll teach you how to do it. We'll talk soon. I'll tell you how I take my pictures. You know what? I'll just tell everybody how I take my pictures. All right. Here's what I do. I have some clamp lamps on a table. I have white tubs they're just white dish pans that I bought at a dollar store, right? I put a paper towel on the bottom. I bought some good light bulbs for to keep it bright. And I also have a 4-foot fluorescent shop light over the table. So then I use my iPhone 5S and I take, I make sure that the lighting is good. I angle the phone a little bit. I take the picture, and then, if necessary, I don't adjust the color or anything. I don't Photoshop my animals at all. But sometimes you have to adjust the light level a little bit, the saturation. I mean, not the saturation, the brightness of the photo. And once you get that right, because sometimes, as good as your camera is, it doesn't really capture the beauty and the colors that are actually there. So you got to kind of make it look like the way it actually looks sometimes, and without embellishing it. Because when you start embellishing your pictures, it's pretty noticeable. So, but there's a fine line that you can do with some of the apps that can make your picture look realistic, especially if you're going to be selling these animals. Because if you're going to sell an animal, you want it to look like what it's going to look like when somebody opens the box and sees it. Because if it doesn't, you're gonna have hell to pay on Facebook. That's for sure. They're gonna just bash you like hell. So
yeah,
you just got to make sure that you're representing your animal, the right way. So, George, if I were you, do you have a good cell phone? Do you have a good camera?
Yeah, I got the Note 4. It takes awesome pictures. And I just recently bought a nice Nikon, so I haven't tried taking pictures yet. But I plan on starting to take some pictures and playing around with lights and figure it out here.
Okay. Don't be afraid to go really bright. Don't be afraid to put more light.
Yeah,
okay.
George, I've been researching it a little bit lately too, and you can go on YouTube and see how to look up how to quickly make a little homemade light box, or even purchase a cheap one off of like eBay or Amazon to get started. But yes, as Dave is saying, from the research that I've done, light is very, very, very important.
Yeah, I mean there is the Photoshop app that you can put on your phone that you can adjust the light levels. I mean, it's got all different features. But like I said, if you start going crazy, it's just obvious. Saturation is too high or something. It's just going to look like you embellished it. But you just want to make it look the way it looks normally. That's all. And as long as you're doing that, you're good.
Yeah, you did a good job because I personally saw those geckos for months on end. And when you put that picture up, I was like and my wife saw the picture and I saw it, and I said I've been trying to take a picture that looks like that, and I could not do it. And I saw yours, I was stunned. It looked great. And then I don't know, the way they were staged and the whole nine, it looked really awesome. So ever since then, that's my goal. That's my goal, to get a picture that looks like that.
Well, I learned very quickly, George, that, and I've been on Facebook for 2 years, I learned very quickly that you are your pictures. People don't know you. People don't know you're a nice guy. People don't know you're a good guy. People don't know anything about you. But if your pictures look good, they're going to remember you by your pictures. So that's it. So if you're online, you're not George. You are how good your picture looks. That's the bottom line.
That's true.
So and you gotta be nice too. You can't be a complete jerk online, because they'll remember you. They'll remember that too. So you gotta be cool, and you gotta be fair, and I don't know, be yourself too. Because if you're not yourself, people see through that. So it's a very transparent world we're living in now. So, and anybody that's called out as being a scammer or dishonest, I mean, it happens immediately. you can't be that kind of person anymore and do well in anything because, it's so easy. People are going to go on there and out you. And I see it all the time. I see scammers being called out all the time, which is good. So, but then at the same point, if you're doing good stuff, you're going to be recognized for that too. So, that's the way I see it. What do you think about that, Tim?
I agree completely with everything you just said.
Okay.
When you're selling online, it's not like trying to sell to somebody at a show where you can talk to them and they can hold the animal and see exactly its personality and everything. You got to try to show it everything in the pictures, and I'm right here with you, George, where I'm not a good photographer, and I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm still researching and trying to figure out how to take some good pictures and conveniently post them up and sell some geckos that way.
Well, once you get that figured out, you'll be made in the shade. And everybody, as long as you have a decent phone, you'll be able to do it. I was thinking about investing in a DSLR and all that stuff, but seriously, I don't know that I need it. I think my pictures look good the way they are from an iPhone. I mean, iPhone camera's awesome. So, unless somebody wants to trade me a nice DSLR camera for some cool geckos, which I'm open to, by the way. Until then, I'm just going to keep using my iPhone.
Dave, have you seen those? They actually sell little lenses that connect to your iPhone. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
It's called the Aloe Clip. To do my close-up shots, I've used the Aloe Clip. That thing works good. I don't take too many close-ups, though, but I have taken a few, and it's got like a fisheye lens on it. And that's like, I think it's like $50. It's this little thing that clips onto your iPhone. The only problem is if you have a case, you got to take the case off and, put for it to work, and it's a kind of a pain in the butt, but, whatever. It works. And, or, I don't know, maybe you can hook up with a photographer, George, like, if you're on Facebook, maybe there's somebody down in Florida that's looking to do like some kind of like barter where you can supply them awesome geckos to take photos of, and they can use your pictures and you can use the pictures. You might be able to work something like that out too. I don't know.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I'm definitely. I definitely have to check into that because I've tried all kinds of stuff, and I just haven't found that sweet spot yet in my house. But I'm gonna go ahead and try to buy some of those lights and maybe invest into some good bulbs, like you were saying, so that way I can give it another try.
Yeah, that'd be cool. All right. Well, I don't know.
I'm sorry?
No, I was just gonna say, I don't know. I mean, other than that, it's the lighting. It's all in the lighting, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's important to represent your animal. I mean, one, not overdo it, but get them true to what they look like, because that makes a difference. I mean, in that case, a prime example, it makes a difference. Nobody seemed interested, and in them based on, I think, my pictures. And you were, you gave it a shot, and then you took a actual great representation of what they actually look like, and were able to bring that. The colors to the forefront and everything like you did, and it made the big difference night and day in response to people. It was crazy.
It's hard let me tell you, it's very frustrating getting a picture of 3 geckos that are constantly moving to get that perfect shot. I mean, I probably took like 60 pictures before I settled on one where, each one was in the right position where it looked good, you know what I mean? And, these things, they don't stop moving sometimes. Every once in a while, you'll get a gecko that just sits there and you can kind of manipulate it into a cool position, and it's just chill and relaxed. But 9 times out of 10, they're on the move, man. They're running around. It's hard. But, yeah, that's the joy of, and that's, that experience is kind of like holds me back from posting more animals for sale because it's kind of a pain in the butt taking pictures of these guys sometimes. I actually don't look forward to it at all. But
George, I know you mentioned that one of your kids is 4 years old. I don't know how old the other one is, but having an assistant to kind of guide the geckos and keep the gecko in place is one thing that I've been told over and over is a good thing to have when you're trying to take a picture. So that way you can concentrate on taking the picture and they can concentrate on keeping the gecko in the right spot.
No, I never thought about that. I'm gonna have to make my kids a little hoarder, a herder. I'm sorry, not a hoarder, a herder. To get the geckos. That's actually a good idea because I was trying to put stuff in the way, and I'm going to because I would actually put things in the way, or try to block them with a sneaker, move whatever I had around to block them. It was just horrible. I had no luck, but I think that'll actually be a good thing to do.
And then one other thing is you could have them put like a dark plastic cup or a hive over them for a minute or two, and then take that off and then take the picture because that'll kind of settle them down momentarily at least.
That's smart. I like that idea. Definitely.
Yeah, I never heard that one before. That's a good one. I'll try that.
Or Dave, since you usually do it solo, you could try just holding your hand over them for a minute. So.
Yeah, all right. That's a good idea. Wow, I wish they would just stay in one position. I even thought of designing some kind of like cookie cutter type of thing that would kind of pose them for me, and and then just leave them there for a few seconds so they kind of conform to it, and then lift it off real quick and then take the picture. I mean, I've tried to think of all different kinds of things to do, but I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy when they're running around. But yeah, all right. Well, I don't know. I think we just had an awesome interview, George, and I have one last question for you. Really, how did you get the name Arti Sanz? Artisans. It's kind of like, it sounds like artisans.
Correct. Now, I know you don't look rap, Dave, so I'm going to keep it. I actually used to rap a long time ago, and my rapper name was Arti Sanz, and it was, of course, the play on artisan, and I stopped doing music. I wasn't none of that crazy. It was more old school hip-hop, because I'm from the Bronx, and I grew up on a lot of old school hip-hop, not what's on the radio now. I wanted to use it. I thought it was an awesome a play on the name, and I kept it. So I kept it, and I stopped doing music altogether, and I transferred it into my new passion with the Geckos, and I kept it.
I think it's cool. I think it gives the name it adds class to it. You know what I mean? I think it's cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've had a lot of issues with shipping because people send geckos to Arti Sanz, and when I go pick them up and there's George Diaz on the ID, it's a cluster. But I've had to email a lot of people and before shipping and stuff like that if they weren't shipping directly to my house. But yeah, so that was it. That's the secret.
Well, that's all right because for the last few years everybody thought my last name was Fine Geckos, so finally changing that. I've always been kind of private online about things. I'm always worried that if I put too much information that I'm gonna get hacked or something. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like I don't know, but I finally I'll say it isn't Fine Geckos. No, my last name is Pelletieri. But even on my main page, I just put Pell, P-E-L-L-E. That's just half of my last name. But I mean, if anybody asks me what my name is, I'll tell them whatever. But I don't know. It's funny. Well, George, Arti, whatever you guys want to call him, George, why don't you tell everybody exactly how they can find you out there, and just reiterate a little bit about what your operation is, so people know where to find you and know what you're doing.
Okay, you can find me on Facebook, and I mean you can look up Arti Sanz, ARTI space SANZ, or if you look up Arti Sanz Geckos, you will be able to find me as well. And again, my goal for 2015 here is to launch Gecks for Vets. It's going to be a non-profit corporation, which is in the beginning phases. We'll, get veterans suffering from PTSD and maybe other mental health conditions with a pet gecko as of right now, but hopefully later on in the future we could expand to other reptiles, and hopefully it'll give them something to strive for and help them get out of the rut, which is the end goal of this. And it helped me and anybody listening out there. If you didn't want to call, or if you're interested in a gecko, I haven't fully started, but just reach out to me. I'll put you on a list, and we'll make sure we get it done. Because my goal is to help out as many people as I can while I'm on this earth. Even if you're not a veteran, don't be shy. If you're suffering from PTSD or any kind of mental health, and you want to give it a try, and you want to try a reptile or a pet gecko, just reach out. Because we are one humanity, and I'm out to help as many people as I can, and hopefully this avenue, leopard geckos, will be a great help to other people, just like it helped me.
That's really
awesome.
great, George, and it's nice that you're going about it the right way, and we fully support the cause, and most Americans, whether you agree with our political agendas in the Middle East and all over the world, that doesn't matter, but we all support our troops. So thank you so much for what you're doing, and please don't hesitate to let us know when you want to come back on and talk some more about your future ventures and how when you're at the next step and ready for some donations and stuff like that. Please don't hesitate to call us up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be happy to send you some. I'll be happy to send you some geckos, George, too. If you need anything or anything I can do to help, just let me know.
All right, thanks, Dave. Tim, thank you. I appreciate for you guys having me on again. I'm honored that you guys gave me the opportunity to speak out, and hopefully everybody listens. That's listening to the show will kind of help me grow this and grow along with me, and we can help our troops. Like Tim said, no matter what your opinion is on all that's going on in our or your political agenda, it's all about people and helping people out, and that's it.
That's right. That's well said. Well said. All right, George. Thanks for coming on. You're welcome anytime.
Thank you for having me, and have a blessed day. Thank you, guys.
You too.
Thanks. You too, George.
All right. What do you think there, Tim?
Another good show in the books.
I think so too. I'm really happy about it. I'm really happy about what George is putting together, and I think it's something that's going to take off pretty good. So he may be overwhelmed at some point.
Yeah, so I'm sure hopefully when we have him back on and he's got updates for us, that there'll be other things other than just geckos, as donations, maybe even if we have some other listeners in the area where he is that could help him out with a little volunteer time, or people that are across the country that could help him out doing some work online for him. We'd love to be able to contribute and put everybody in touch with him and at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. I just want to thank everybody that listened in tonight. I want to thank Chad for calling in. I see in the group in the chat room we have Airway Geckos, we have Barbara, we have Brooke, Elsa, Jamie, and a guest. Thank you all for tuning in, and we're going to do it again next week. Tim, I'll let you go. Next week, I think we have Ron and Helene Tremper coming on, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Let me just check this. Yeah, that'll be interesting. This will be the first. This will be the first time Helene's ever done a radio show. So, Ron's a veteran of radio, but have them both on at the same time, that's pretty rare. So that I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, Ron and Helene, yep, 125. So that should be a good show next week. And then after that, we have Brian Barczyk. And then on the 8th, we have Chris from Sea Serpents. And then, I don't know, we got so many good shows. We got Ball Pythons with Steve Barker. We got John Scarborough coming back. We got Mike's Fat Frogs. Daryl Burton from Longhorn Geckos. Rachel from Happy Geckos Sticky Situation. We got Joe Hupp. Brian Breakus from Breaking Balls. A lot of good shows for you guys well into the future. So stick with us, and we're going to make it happen. 2015 is going to be an epic year, and I think Gecko Nation Radio is going to really be strong this year. So it's all because of you all that are tuning in and keeping us going. So, and of course, we wouldn't be anywhere without Steve Barker and everything he contributes, and of course, our new friend, Mr. Tim Walton, my wingman. I'm really happy to have you with us too, Tim. So thanks for being there.
Thanks for having me, Dave. And,
absolutely. I will
soon.
see you. See you next week.
All right. Good night.
All right. Take care. All right, folks. I'm going to go ahead and play the outro. Come back with my closing remarks, and then play a cool song.
Gecko Nation Radio is a David Fine Geckos creation and production. You can visit the show's Facebook page at Gecko Nation Radio. I also have a great family-friendly group on Facebook called Gecko Nation. Apply for membership today. The jazz music you heard tonight was generously donated and created by Jeremy Turgeon of J&D Reptiles. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for the great musical pieces. You can check out Jeremy at J&D Reptiles on YouTube and on Facebook. And a very special thank you to our news anchor, graphic designer, and audio tech, Steve Barker. All the graphics, audio sponsor plugs, and music overlays were assembled by Steve. Check out Steve on YouTube at BC Barker Creations. He has some terrific videos for the herp community with amazing geckos and snakes.
Please support the U.S. Herpetocultural Alliance and USARC. Gecko Nation Radio is proud to support both of these organizations. Please donate to USARC so that they have the funds needed to legally protect pet owners' rights nationwide. You can donate to the USARC Legal Defense Fund at www.usarc.org. If you would also like to learn about advocacy and how you can take action on a state and local level, please subscribe to the U.S. Herpetocultural Alliance newsletter and blog at www.usherp.org.
That's right, folks. My closing remarks are this. After doing a show like this, I feel really good and motivated and just energized. I like people that are doing positive things and, doing good things for other people. That's always awesome. Maybe this show gave you some ideas on how you can take your interest, whatever the interest is, and, use it to help other people and do something cool with it. I hope it, inspired you a little bit. So, something to think about. But at this time, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Dale's Bearded Dragons. Been with us since the beginning. If you're going to be at the New Hampshire show or any of the shows that they attend on the East Coast, make sure you mention Gecko Nation Radio. You get your supplies and feeders with them, and you're going to get 10% off every time. AB Dragons, use the code GECKO, all in caps, at checkout, 5% off your dubia roaches. They got the best dubia in America, so check them out. GeckoBoa.com. John Scarborough, if you're looking for an awesome gecko from awesome lineage, he's one of the breeders to get them from. Mention the show. He's going to take care of you, too. All of our sponsors will take care of you. Mention the show. Supreme Gecko, Wally Kern, another guy who does a lot for the community. Check him out. All kinds of cool geckos, Cresties, day geckos, all kinds of micro geckos, small, rare stuff. He's got all kinds of food, too. So, SupremeGecko.com. Ohio Gecko. Thad also runs geckoforums.net. Check those out. Awesome geckos, awesome forum. Rainbow Mealworms, rainbowmealworms.net. I use Rainbow Mealworms exclusively. Rainbow supplies most of the reptile community with their feeders, and they are awesome for a reason. They're the biggest worm farm in the world. They didn't get that way from doing things wrong. RainbowMealworms.net, best feeder source. Reptiles Express. Reptiles Express is the best company to use to get your FedEx labels to ship your animals anywhere in the U.S. ReptilesExpress.com. If you don't know how to ship, ask for Debbie Price, and she will help you. And it's so easy to ship. once you do it a few times, it's no problem. I would start shipping. If you're new to shipping, I would wait to ship in the springtime. I wouldn't choose the winter as the first time to ship, unless you're very confident, unless you have somebody that's going to show you how to do it the right way. But shipping is nothing to stress out over if you're doing it right. Ron Tremper is going to be on next week. Ron Tremper, leopardgecko.com. He is the godfather of leopard geckos, as we affectionately call him. And he is the creator of the Bandit, the Tangelo, the Super Tangelo, the Raptor, the Eclipse. Oh, my God. He's given us so many different leopard gecko morphs over the last 30 years. It's incredible. Nobody's done more for leopard geckos in America than Ron. So definitely check out leopardgecko.com. All right. And he's got some cool apps, too. Leopard Gecko Pro, Leopard Gecko Care, and a few others, too. I think he even has a shipping app. So check those out. All right. Last but not least, Daryl and Kate Burton from Longhorn Geckos. New breeder on the scene, doing some great work. Super Tangelos, Bandits, Pastel Raptors, all kinds of cool stuff. White and yellow combos, and some wild types. He's going to be breeding Ingram Manus and the new Fuscus, too, in the upcoming seasons. Definitely check them out on Facebook, Longhorn Geckos. All right. That's about it. Those are our sponsors. We have a few more coming on, too, soon. Also, I'll let you guys know. Some great sponsors are coming on the scene for 2015 here at Gecko Nation Radio.